Having good distributors is a wonderful thing. You, as the manufacturer, make the product. You send them the product. They sell the product. You make money. They make money. Life is good. This can go on for year after year. It can go on for decades. But it's not going to go on forever. Sooner or later, the management team at the distributor is going to change. It may be because the key man or key woman retires or dies or loses interest in the business, but sooner or later, it's not going to be the same management anymore. Then what happens? Then what happens can be pretty bad. In law, we refer to the whole question of who's going to take over a business, who's going to take over in management. We call it succession planning. And that's obviously important for the people running and owning the distributor, but it's also important for you as manufacturer. So what happens to you? New management might be grossly incompetent. You might think that if a business has been making profits hand over fist and selling your product just great for year after year, decade after decade, that any monkey could run the place and still make good money. But managers are not always as smart as monkeys. Or at least it seems that way when you see how they manage to mess up totally sound businesses. Just to take one example, suppose the proud parent who's been the key manager at this place decides that little Johnny or little Janie is just the person to take over this business. And Johnny or Janie has no interest in the business, has no expertise in the business, doesn't even like the business, maybe resents the business. Daddy and Mommy neglected me because they poured everything into this business, and now I don't like this business, and now I'm in charge. This may be not the best psychology for running a distributor well. Also, there's the question of arrogance. The old Greeks used to talk in terms of hubris. There's a crazy degree of pride that will lead people to do stupid things. And modern psychologists tell us that something similar can happen, where people have a good degree of success in something, even if it's really not because of their abilities at all that they've had some success. It can go to their heads. There are even cases where somebody wins the lottery and is convinced because of that, oh, I'm a genius, and will then ignore all common sense, all advice, and do any number of stupid, foolish things. Now, if it were just the owners of the distributor who would suffer from that, then you, as a manufacturer, might not care that much. But of course, it affects you too. You can have a business that is selling your product to the tune of millions of dollars of profit per year, and it can all fall apart on you. Is there anything that can be done, or are you a sitting duck just waiting for new management to come in and hoping that on that day when new management comes in, there'll be competent people coming in instead of proud idiots? Is there anything that can be done about this? Well, maybe you have a contract that gives you some way of protecting yourself. I'll assume you don't. I'll assume your contract has no provision that would help you here. So, does that mean that you're doomed? Well, no. I would suggest that manufacturers who have not thought about how to protect themselves from management changes at their distributors should start thinking about it hard now. Should think about what kinds of protections can there be in the distribution agreement, or whatever you call the legal arrangements that you have with the distributor. What protections can there be in there for the manufacturer so that if new management is no good, something can be done, something can be salvaged. Now, there are many possible terms and provisions that can help. And let's just mention a few of them. One of them is that you could have a provision in a contract that would say that management changes are not allowed without the consent of the manufacturer. That might give you some protection. At least you'd have some sort of prior approval on who the new managers are. But, of course, well, first of all, it might not be agreed to. But even if it is agreed to, you don't necessarily know how good people are going to be until they're actually in charge and actually functioning. So here's another possibility. It's an analogy to stop losses in investments. You could set targets in your contract, and if the targets are not met, that could allow you to terminate the distribution agreement. That way you could pull the plug. Or have leverage to insist on another management change if the little Johnny or Janie is messing up. And there are many other possibilities. One is that you could have an arrangement where if you're sharing ownership in the distribution company, you could have a provision under which if targets aren't met, that you can buy out the other shareholders on certain terms. There are many possibilities, but to give it the broadest perspective, look at it like this. If the key manager or managers is around 50 years old, then you should be thinking about this stuff. Around 60 years old, you should be thinking about it urgently. Nobody's going to live forever. And you don't want to have your business's manufacturer at the mercy of new and possibly incompetent management.